I'm back with some more tips. I finally gathered the courage to sit down again and share some of my wisdom, which doesn't feel like wisdom to me. I'm sitting here, I'm feeling like a fraud, and I haven't even given one piece of advice yet. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Annie, and this is kind of like a part 2 to a video I did a few weeks ago. Gave some tips on how to read more, how to up your reading game, if you will. In this video, I just kind of want to go over a few extra tips, I guess, that I thought of after filming that video, and they kind of go off of what I said in that first video. So if you haven't seen that, not to plug my own video, but maybe go check that out. We are going to be talking about a few different things in this video. I'm not just going to be repeating myself, but I definitely think these tips that I say in this video are pretty much ineffective if you don't take into account what I said in the first video. So, I'm back. I've got another checkered top on and some more questionable advice. So let's just get right into it. So, in my first video, I realized something that is a big factor into how much you can read is your reading speed. How fast you read a book definitely determines how many books you are able to read at any given time. Reading speed, as in reading faster, I think is just something that you naturally get better at the more that you read. Again, I think I've said this so many times, the more you read, the more you are able to read, the better you get at it. And that goes for how fast you can read. The more that you read, the faster you will get at it. So I was thinking about this, and it kind of felt like I couldn't really give any actual tips on how to get yourself to read faster other than just reading more. But I have come to realize that when I read a book, I do not actually read every single word written in that book. 9 times out of 10, I am skim reading. And I know a lot of you are going to go, Annie, if you're skim reading, you're not actually reading. And I guess that's kind of true, but I want to say that it's not intentional. This is just how I have come to read after years and years and years of reading. And I'm not going to say that I skim read all the time. Again, like, there are some books where I just find myself so captivated that I want to read every single word on every single page. But then there are some books where I will just skim through most of the words on most of the pages. This usually happens when I'm reading books for school, and that helps because I usually have information before I go into the book, so it's not like I'm trying to read and figure out what's going on as much as I would as if I just picked up a random book. But then there are other times when I'm reading a book and I am so invested in what is happening, I need to know what is going on, what is going to happen, that I just find myself reading faster. My brain needs to know, and it just makes me get through the book as quickly as possible. The best example that I can give is when I was reading Priory of the Orange Tree. Hang on. I was reading this heifer of a book. I was reading it on my phone. I was not reading this actual physical copy. But it took me, I think, a week to get through the first half of this book, the first 300, 400 pages. And then the book got really, really good. So I just sat down and read the second half of it in one night. I read one half over a week, and then I read one half in one night. Like, not even one day, one night, from like 8 till like 12 p.m. How did I do that? It got so good, I couldn't put it down, and I couldn't stop reading, and I just kept reading faster and faster and faster. And I definitely think I was skim reading for parts of Priory. And again, I do that for most of my books. How I skim read, that's another question entirely. My brain just kind of naturally picks out the most important parts of the page. I would say I definitely notice a lot of dialogue. Like, dialogue is really easy to stand out on a page and for my brain to pick up and read it. Usually read the top. Usually read like the top, the start sentence, and then the bottom end sentences. The stuff in the middle, bit of a hit or miss. Depends on what is in there, if it's important. Usually can skip over the middle part of the page, honestly. Sometimes I don't even read it in that order. Sometimes I will, like, something will stand out at the bottom of the page and I'll read that first, and my brain goes, hang on, you missed something. And so I go back up to the top and I'll read from the top down to the bottom. It makes no sense. Maybe I'm more of a chaotic reader than I thought. I know that there are actually people who can explain and like teach you how to speed read. If you look up speed reading techniques on YouTube. There are so many videos on it, and I'm pretty sure skim reading is like one of the main parts of speed reading, so they talk about that a lot. So if you want some actual tips, I would highly recommend going and checking that out. But something that might be able to help you, I did kind of mention this in my first video, but having a visual aid while you're reading. I mentioned in my first video taking a pencil, running it down the page. Obviously, if you want to try and read quicker, you can practice over time following the pencil but moving the pencil at a faster speed. So you're technically trying to read quicker than you usually would. But another good thing you can try is taking a set amount of pages. So if you have a book, get a bookmark, put it in however many pages forward in the book, and then see how long it takes you to read up until that bookmark. It's kind of like timing yourself. And you could also do this in reverse. So you could set like a 30-minute timer and see how many pages you could read in those 30 minutes. And of course, over time, gradually challenge yourself to try and read more pages in a smaller amount of time. Little reading sprints to help you get faster. My next tip is kind of a bit chaotic, but I mentioned in my last video trying to change the format in which you read stories, and I mentioned audiobooks. And audiobooks have a great feature where you can change the speed at which you listen to them. I have only ever listened to one audiobook in my life, and I listened to it on 4 times speed, and it was like a 30-hour something long audiobook, and I finished it in 4 hours. And absolutely, when I first started listening to it, it did sound like the narrator was possessed and screaming gibberish into my ears. But what I found was I had a physical copy of the book, and so listening to it at 4 times speed, I realized that that's actually like the speed that my eyes would move across the page. It was just tricky for me to take it in because I wasn't used to listening to audiobooks. But you could use this to help increase your reading speed. I'm really not saying you should put your audiobooks on 4 times speed and just go from there. Start off like at 1.5 speed, or if there's a 1.25 speed option, you know, start off slow, have a physical copy of your book if you can. Read along while you're listening and keep up with the pace. And obviously, the more audiobooks you listen to, the faster you can make the narration go, the quicker you'll practice reading. I just feel like it'll help you get used to consuming words at a faster speed. But I don't know if this will actually work. I mean, I've been listening to things on like 2 times speed since like 2015, so maybe my brain is just chaotic. This might not work for anyone, but it's a good idea, at least, I think. I just feel like at this point I have to say it doesn't actually really matter how fast you get through books. I am definitely not the fastest reader that I know. You don't have to be the fastest reader that you know, but I do understand that it is frustrating to not be able to read as many books as you like. So hopefully increasing your reading speed could be something that helps you. So anyway, going off the audiobook thing, I don't actually listen to a lot of audiobooks because I like to listen to music while I read. Also, I have a very short attention span, but that's not the point. I know that this won't work for everyone. I know some people find listening to music while you try to do anything else is very, very distracting. I like it. I think it sets a nice vibe. It means I won't get distracted by things going on around me. Definitely adds an extra bit of texture as well to what you're reading, I think, especially if the playlist or like whatever you're listening to matches up with the book that you're reading. I love that. But I usually use these. These are my noise cancelling headphones. So when I put these on and I listen to music, I cannot hear anything that's going on around me. I am literally unaware of the world and I'm fully absorbed in the book that I'm reading. So even if you don't like listening to music, putting a pair of these on or putting in a pair of earphones, I can't do that because I have piercings and my ears are sensitive, but having something kind of just blocking out noise around you could be very helpful. Also, if you have earphones or headphones on, it's kind of like an excuse to not engage with people. If they come up to you, they're probably not going to interact with you or try and interrupt you because they will see that you can't hear them. So it's easier to ignore people that way as well. I think your surroundings in general are just very, very important. Take into consideration, you might not be able to read as much if you are constantly in a busy and loud environment. I know for me, if I'm by myself, like in a house and there's no one else, there's no noise, I cannot read. I will have to go and put something on the TV Like if I don't want to listen to music, I will put a YouTube video or a movie or a show on, and I will sit down in front of it and I will not pay attention, maybe a little bit of attention, but I will not pay attention to what is on the screen. I just need the background noise, and I will sit there and I will read a book. So for me, I like background noise. I don't know why, it helps me focus. So if you're like me, try getting some background noise going on. Try going out, maybe reading in a cafe if you can, where you currently are, or like in a park or something, social distance. Or, you know, try one of those noise things, rain background noises, cafe background noises. There are lots of videos like that on YouTube. Or listen to music. Or if you're the opposite, try find a place where you can get some peace and quiet, take some time for yourself, and try read. And if you can't find a place that is quiet, headphones, they will help. Now, something that I've picked up from studying that I don't actually do that much, but I think it is a valid tip to give: Google is your friend. Use it to Google the books that you're reading. Have a quick Google, look through some reviews of the books you're reading. If there are, you know, spark notes, cliff notes, read up on the author, read up on the themes, on the characters, I don't know. Maybe just get a little outside info. I genuinely don't do this for most of the books that I read in my spare time, but I do find that when I go onto Goodreads before reading a book and I read some of the reviews, not only does it make me want to go and read to see what they're talking about, but I do find that it makes it easier for me to get through a book. And this is how I skim read my books for class. Usually before I have to read a book for class, we are given notes, usually like just on the author, but sometimes we get notes on like what inspired the story, or what, like the basic premise of what the story is about. And just having that little bit of information before going into a book makes it easier, because my brain isn't trying to figure out as much about what is going on. It already knows a little bit of information, so it's not trying to read as hard, if that makes sense. It kind of just takes a little bit of pressure off your brain. I will also say it will enhance your critical reading skills if you have different things to look for while you're reading. You're going to go into this book and you're going to have a completely new perspective, and that will just add to your reading comprehension skills. It'll just make you a better reader naturally. I feel like this tip is a little bit iffy though. I don't really do it myself, not because I'm afraid of spoilers, but I know plenty of people probably won't want to do this because they won't want to know spoilers. But if you're feeling a little bit brave, a little bit daring, you don't mind spoilers so much, Googling a book can really do wonders. I will say Googling a book also comes into my next tip. I did also mention this in my last video, but reading diversely will help you get better at reading. Not only is it fun, but I mean reading diversely, specifically books that challenge you. If you're reading a wide variety of books, that is going to constantly be challenging your brain and your current reading comprehension skills. And every time you read a new, different, challenging book, you are going to gain a new skill which will add to your reading ability. I remember growing up in school, my teachers would always say, you would be so much better at reading if you read nonfiction, because that is currently the one kind of type of reading material that is outside of your comfort zone and will actually help you improve reading the most. I never did read nonfiction growing up because I was absolutely not interested in it, so I'm not saying to go and read books that you're not interested in, but even just reading diversely within a genre. Reading books from different authors, from different countries, from different cultures, from different religions, it all just adds up to your brain power and will make you a better reader. This is the one solid tip I can give you. Reading diversely is the one thing that will make you a better reader, but it is the tip that takes the longest. You should just be constantly reading diversely. It's not something that you can do like once and be like, wow, I'm a better reader now. If you constantly read diverse and difficult books, you are going to constantly becoming a better reader. You are going to constantly be bettering yourself as a reader. And on that note, I am going to go and give a bit of advice that is pretty much exactly the opposite of what I just said. But rereading books is a total game changer. This honestly goes back to kind of the reading speed advice, but also you will be surprised by how different a book can be when you go and read it a second time, or a third time, or a fifth time, or a 12th time, whatever. Naturally, the more times you read a book, the easier it is going to be for you to get through it, because you're going to know what to expect more and more. And so I will say, naturally, you will be able to get through it faster. And this might seem like an irrelevant tip, because obviously, if you reread a book, you're eventually going to pick up a new book that you've never read before. So you're probably thinking, well, that's not going to help me read that book faster, is it? But I don't think that's entirely true. I think if you get used to rereading a book at a certain fast pace, it kind of carries on into new books that you pick up. You will probably just be used to reading at a faster speed, and so you'll probably try and read new books at that faster speed. It might not work, it might not be very comfortable, might not be very fun, but over time it might actually work. So I don't know. There also might be other benefits to rereading that I haven't even noticed, but I definitely notice that when I get used to reading at a certain fast pace, and that usually happens when I'm rereading a book, it carries over into when I'm reading new books that I've never read before. And I have one last tip to give, and this is actually because my friend RP commented on my last reading tips video with a very interesting dilemma. He said that he finds it hard to get through books because he is constantly analyzing what he reads. I have never had this problem before, and I absolutely did not think about this when I was making my first reading tips video. So I'm not going to sit here and discourage you to stop reading critically, because I think that's a really great skill to have, and I don't think it's a bad thing that you are analyzing everything that you read, but it sounds frustrating that it's slowing you down from getting on to more books. So my tip is to buddy read books with people. Not only will your critical reading skills be a great asset to the conversations that you will have with the person that you're buddy reading, but usually when you buddy read, you have set times that you're going to discuss set parts of the book. So it'll keep you to a schedule, but also your critical reading skills will come in handy for the conversation part. And also you get someone else's opinions on the book as well, which can add to your critical thoughts, get a whole new perspective. I think it'll be very interesting to your critical thinking brain. And also, it's just fun to read things with other people. So hopefully it's an enjoyable experience all around, while also helping you get through books maybe a little bit quicker than you're used to. And that's really all I have. Again, this is a part 2, just giving a few more tips on things that I didn't really discuss in my first video. I know the main thing you guys really want to know is how to manage your time, how to actually find the time to read. And don't worry, I am going to be making a video on how I organize my time, how I manage to read as much as I do. I just have to figure out how I organize my time first so I can actually tell you guys, because currently I don't really know. But as soon as I figure it out, I will share my secrets with you guys. But that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope these tips help. If you have any tips of your own, please comment them down below. I also just want to say thank you so much to everyone who left a nice comment on my last video, my last tips video. I was really nervous about that video. I had never done an advice video before, so thank you. Your comments really meant a lot to me, and you guys basically gave me the courage to sit down and do this one. And you guys are giving me the courage to sit down and do the time organizing one, which I hope will be coming soon. So if you want to see that, maybe stick around. But that is it for today. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you watching this video. I will see you all soon with another video, hopefully sometime this week. Bye!